Happy Saturday, everyone. We are in Gemini, and I feel really wonderful today. We shifted into Gemini early yesterday evening, and I could tell the difference. I was really happy. And I also had a lot of energy kind of last minute, and I laid there for probably like 20 minutes, just self-talking and clear my mind, which is what I call meditating, to chill out so that I could go to sleep. And then this morning, it was like not even 5 o'clock yet, and I was like, bing. And so I knew that this Gemini energy is here, and I love it. My sun, my rising is in Gemini, so it's very interesting to learn the traits, and it feels really good to me. And so I started making these videos and doing my homework, my studies, as I'm learning more and more about the signs and the transmissions that we get from each star system. It totally affects everyone differently because everyone has a moon and sun and, all of these different things that causes us to feel and receive energy differently. And so when we learn the elements of these signs and where we're located and things like that, we can really start to predict and manifest. It's like a prediction tool. I always say this favorite quote of mine, which is by J.P. Morgan, that said that millionaires don't use astrologers, billionaires do. And I'm starting to see the signs. So this morning I went through and I was checking, I was writing down and doing my studies about Gemini, and I wrote them down in my book, and I want to just share with you about Gemini's energy. And we're going to be here today, and my app says tomorrow also, and then we move into Cancer. But sometimes it goes back and forth on the third day, so I'm not sure. So we'll just have to see in the morning. But yeah, we'll be in Cancer, which is my sign. It's always intense energy for me. And then we move into Leo for the full moon, which is energy that I love so much. And because it's a full moon and a lunar eclipse in Leo, that means it's a new Lion's Gateway. And it is busting out of the door for us. Our new year starts with the eclipse. January was a month of turning us upside down and shaking all the crap out of all the junk out of our pockets, because, all of this is going to shift at the end of the month. And so it's interesting to take mental notes of how you feel based on what sign we're in. If you're activating and you're feeling, you're feeling things, and even if you're not experiencing the things that I talk about and other people talk about, pay attention to your thought processes. Pay attention to your energy level, whether you have a lot of energy or you don't. Like, everyone feels the moon transmissions. It's just some of us have been activated at an earlier time so that we can be here to set the activations for everyone else. Some of us are hybrids here. I'm a hybrid. I was activated. If you're watching, you're probably a hybrid too, because there's a certain amount of us that are going to wake up to help move us into the new Gaia. So let's talk about Gemini. Gemini is the sign of the twins of duality. It is the best trait of a Gemini is responsiveness. It's a masculine sign, and the element is air. The ruling planet is Mercury, which is the ancient messenger of gods. And Mercury's influence emphasizes quick cleverness and a nervous temperament. So we all know how it feels to be when it's Mercury in retrograde. Mercury is the planet of communication. And so it's very interesting to learn what planet has an effect with the ruler of whatever sign it's in. I mean, it's I'm more and more, as I'm diving into this, I'm starting to see huge connections, and I'm just kind of taking a step back and letting it all come in, because I haven't reached the point of being completely mind blown yet, but I know it's on the way, because I'm just like, wow. The dominant key word is I think. So it's interesting that each sign, one of the 12, each galaxy has a dominant key phrase to it. And when I started with Aries a week ago or so, their dominant keyword is I am. And then we were just in Taurus, which is I have. And Gemini is I think. The polarity for Gemini is Sagittarius. So if you have a rising or a moon in Sagittarius, or you're a Sagittarius, and you have, it can be an energy that maybe doesn't feel the best to you when we're stationed in Gemini. So like for me, Capricorn is my polarity. And so Capricorn is wonderful energy for me, but it can go sometimes either way, depending on what's going on. So that's wisdom, is just another element that gives a human peace. The lucky day is Wednesday. The lucky numbers are 5 and 9. The magical birthstone of a Gemini is agate, I believe is how it's pronounced, and it's a multicolored precious stone that protects from deception and falsehood, bestows eloquence, especially in declarations of love. And so, that's pretty cool to see that Gemini is aligned with, the protection of the deception and falsehoods, and thrives in the declaration of love. And so I understand that that's definitely something that aligns with my psyche. And so this time I was pulled to pay more attention to the cities that are associated with this sign. Now, I've seen it for the other 2 signs I've done already, but today I was pulled to look, and it's no coincidence that the cities are London, San Francisco, and Melbourne, Australia. And I just happen to be in San Francisco. So the ruling planet for Gemini is Mercury, and the metal is Mercury also. So we've got 2, the same element, which is really strong. And I haven't always seen it that way. It's not always that way from the other signs. So that tells us that this is a huge month of communication. Just like the key words is I think. I think is really I listen, because we think through thought, whether it's ours or not. That's the way I feel it. So Geminis are lively, energetic, versatile, intellectual, lives more in the mind rather than the emotions, and adaptable to new situations. Those last 2 are definitely 2 that I have been activated to embrace in a big, significant way. Especially lives more in the mind rather than the emotions. Emotions are feelings for us to think in our minds. Energetic pulls, not humanistic purging. Like, that's just the byproduct of our existence. Okay, so it's dual or twin aspect. 1 foot in the past and 1 foot in the future, and is able to jump to and from each one. So that was like a pull, moment for me. Is that so you're in the past, in the future, and you're able to jump quickly. So that tells me that there's some timeline work going on, which is way cool. Gemini, the energy is a fast thinker, can move the mind very quick, and most people have a hard time keeping up. So I thought that was a very interesting thing, and I certainly understand that part of myself as well. And it's interesting that Gemini lives more in the mind rather than the emotions, because I'm a Cancer moon. I'm born in Cancer. And so I'm a very emotional person. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's the good balance that I've got with my Gemini rising. And so it says that it's delightful and charming, and symbolizes, this one was way cool. It symbolizes the intelligence of mankind emerging from the animal kingdom. It talked about this sign being one that is from nature. Like, it brings out the energy, which is all of us, which is our animalistic, non-emotional attached selves. Because the only difference between us and animals is our evaluation of emotion, because we speak to each other. Animals just work in the line of energy. It's much simpler there. So One of the things that I did the other day, which is way cool, is and I'm going to read it again. I use cafe astrology a lot for the things that I want to read about with the signs, and I printed out a detailed calendar. And it's interesting because for January 27th, it has like 6 or 7 different listings and different times. And so there, at certain specific times of the day, it has these little sayings in there, like little tips of advice, which is pretty great. And so it starts with today, as today's accomplishments have a confident feel where what you do matches what you feel, and results down the line will move well accordingly. Contacts made now will serve you well, and you won't have to look back with suspicion or regret. If it feels right, probably is, so put your best foot forward and follow through. I mean, that is the best thing a human can give itself, is to listen and act. Knowing what you want and moving on to procure it is the opportunity of the day. And what you fall into now may be just the chance you've been waiting for. Sharing goals and deciding to go mutually for it will be the best of all possible worlds for everyone, with a minimum of conflict resulting later. Speaking to me today, mirages may pop up at any time, even if you're not in the desert. Feelings and internal visions can get muddled, and emotional miscommunication, either unintended or on purpose, may get in the way. Misentanglements can snowball, so be ready to cut loose and try again later. Avoid long-term commitments. And so I really like that today. You know, it's just talking about stay in the lane. If something doesn't feel good, let it go. Move out of the way and let it go by, because today is really about putting one foot forward, paying attention to what's in the mind's eye, and engaging in those things. And, you know, if you have a business going or anything like that, that's how it spoke to me in my personal life, but also in my business life too. So it's very interesting reading the signs. Happy Saturday, everyone. The energy feels so good. So just remember to let go. Give your mind some peace. Give your mind a rest. Just like take all the things that like is making you, frustrated, put them in a box over here and let it go for the day. You don't have to deal with it today, and everything's going to be okay. I love you to the moon, family.